States Ambassador to the United Nations, Samantha Power, has been a strong advocate for intervention in Syria. Power became the youngest ever U.S. permanent representative to the United Nations in 2013 at age 42. This year, she is number 41 on Forbes' list of the world's most powerful women.
Samantha, do you feel powerful?
Yes. Not the week before the UN General Assembly when all the heads of state gathered. No,
Samantha Power, you are a Pulitzer Prize-winning author and former member of the National Security Council. She joins us as the General Assembly convenes at the United Nations headquarters in New York. It is an interview you will see only on CBS This Morning. Ambassador Power, welcome.
Thank you.
Why has it taken so long for aid to reach the people in Aleppo, in the city of Aleppo, who are desperate?
Well, the regime has been very explicit about its tactics in this war: starve or surrender, starve, get bombed, or surrender. And while Russia has done this very important agreement, potentially, with Secretary Kerry, and we are seeking to implement it, we think it can bring about a material difference in the lives of the Syrians, pending a political transition, which, of course, would need to end the war altogether. The Syrian regime, death by 1,000 paper cuts. They are requiring new paperwork, new documentation.
Do the Russians have no influence with them?
They have significant influence, and it's incumbent on the Russians to deliver.
So therefore the Russians aren't doing enough?
Whether the Russians aren't doing enough or the Syrians aren't listening, we're not getting the results we need on humanitarian access. And in order for the deal to move forward, and it can be a very important deal because it can prevent the regime from flying over opposition areas, can prevent barrel bombing, chemical attacks, the kinds of things we've seen the regime do for so long. It can also turn the Russians to doing what they were supposed to do all along, which was actually fight terrorists instead of civilians. But in order for that to move forward, we need the cessation of hostilities to hold for 7 days, and we need sustained and resumed humanitarian access, which we don't have right now.
Secretary of State Kerry said that this is, in effect, really the last chance. Do you believe that this is the last chance, this plan?
Well, we're certainly investing in it as if it is. And again, the suffering, as you said, Charlie, of the people has been so great. This is a real opportunity. The United States and Russia have been negotiating for months to get into this level of granularity and specificity. But Russia has to deliver a regime that has been so brutal for so long.
Is there a difference in the administration between state and defense in terms of how much you can trust the Russians and how much you can share intelligence with the Russians? People are talking about that for days.
They are, and it's, the favorite parlor talk is who's where and so forth. We have one policy, and the president sets the policy, and we're all moving out to implement it. I was with Secretary Kerry and Secretary Carter yesterday. We're all on the same page and trying to make this work.
Has the policy been a failure by definition because of what's happened in Syria?
Well, you can't look at Syria and think that it's a glowing success with all the refugee flow and with terrorist fighters, but it's incumbent on us to take the opportunity that we have here presented to us. Russia is not excited about a quagmire in Syria either. There is a terrorist problem that can unite people if we really focus on it, and we've just got to take this opportunity and drive it home. And if all we do is cease hostilities and get food to people, that's a better week than last week. And so we've got to, again, focus on making incremental progress to ultimately bring about the political transition.
Ambassador, Charlie mentioned that you're a Pulitzer Prize-winning author. That book that you won that Pulitzer for, you posed a question in the face of mass atrocities. You said, why does the United States stand so idly by? Back then, you said it was essentially American officials chose not to intervene. Don't you believe that's what's happening again today in Syria?
Well, Syria is a very complex picture. There are thousands of armed groups. The question, again, of what military intervention would achieve, where you would do it, how you would do it in a way where the terrorists wouldn't be the ones to take advantage of it, has been extremely challenging. But the idea that we have not been, quote, doing anything on Syria, I think, is absurd. We've done everything short of waging war against the Assad regime. And we are, I should note, having significant success against ISIL on the ground, which is of great importance to the American people.
And President Obama is going to make a big announcement about refugees in the coming days, correct?
Well, next week, when the heads of state gather, the United States and the president are doing what he does very well at these heads of state gathering, which is leveraging what the U.S. does to get other countries to step up. So he's convening a summit where each country that gathers will be making new and significant pledges on funding humanitarian assistance so that refugees don't have to leave the region, but also in actually taking more refugees within each country's own borders.
May I turn to North Korea? The Secretary General of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon, said it is urgent to do something. What can be done by the United Nations because of the alarming threat of North Korea having deliverable nuclear weapons?
Well, it is every bit as urgent as the Secretary General said, and that's why in March of this year, I and my team negotiated the toughest sanctions resolution through the UN that we've seen.
Do it because of the nature of the regime.
Well, this resolution or this sanctions regime would cut off so many of the avenues they have to procuring the technology to continue to advance the program that they're doing. But it's not enough, of course. First of all, it's a very isolated country to begin with. We need to ensure enforcement of the resolution that was passed, and we're going to put in place new sanctions in the wake of what they've just done. But we need China, which is has the most leverage over North Korea, and not infinite leverage, because North Korea is a very difficult nut to crack, but to use its influence to get North Korea back to the negotiating table. Because like with anything, sanctions changes your calculus over time, impedes your ability to get the technology you need to do bad things, but fundamentally it's going to be political talks that get them to give up their nuclear program. And we need China to really turn the heat up, and that includes by closing all loopholes in the sanctions regime that exists.
All right, Ambassador Power, always good to have you at the table. Thank you.
Thanks for